Welcome to this presentation of the Arkansas Small Business and Technology Development Center at the University of Arkansas. We are a one-stop shop for entrepreneurs and small business owners, providing confidential consultation and guidance wherever you are on your small business journey. We offer workshops like this one today to help you gain the skill and knowledge you need to be successful. On a quick note, we will be recording this one for educational purposes, and it will be posted on our website at sbtdc.uark.edu next week. Today's presentation, You Need a Website for Your Small Business, is a 1-hour workshop. Our presenter is Nathan Allen of Nathan Allen Design, who also serves as creative director for Concord Adams, Fayetteville website design and development company. He describes himself as a business strategist trapped in a designer's body. Welcome, Nathan. I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you. I'm very happy to be here. And I'm going to just jump right into my presentation. Get a little visual context here. So, hello, I'm Nathan Allen. I'm a creative director and a developer. I work for Concord Adams. I'm the creative director there, but I also do a lot of the development. We like to say that we build thoughtful websites, experiences that inform, convert, and delight. We've had a lot of experience building in a lot of the different platforms that we're going to talk about today. So you need a website. First few questions that you probably want to ask is, what platform do you want to use? How much should it cost? So I'm just here to tell you, if you're like, oh, checking in for a few minutes and see what there is to say, and you don't have the time for a long answer, it's Squarespace. I'm not being paid by Squarespace. It's really just, it's the easy answer. And in a few minutes here, we're going to dive into sort of longer answer and some of the questions that you want to ask yourself before you even get to the platform and cost question, things that are going to help you really improve your website project. So let's back up just a little bit, just a minute. Website designers, developers, and marketers, they're all problem solvers. So really at the heart of it, you want to give them a problem that they can break down and sort of find the best solution for, find the best platform for, find the best way to build it. Honestly, that problem can't be, who am I? And I'm not saying this to be mean to a lot of business owners out there, but sometimes you find yourself working on a project where it's this whole brand exploration thing that business owners haven't figured out the core components of what their business is, and that can burn a lot of money. So save some money and do a lot of this legwork that we're going to go through first before you even talk about platform or cost. So the first thing you want to do is define what success looks like. You know, if your primary goal is if you're selling a product, if you have one product, then you want to get this thing to market, you want to sell it, you want to achieve X amount of market saturation, or just sell X number of products. That's a high level goal. If you want to inform your customers more about what you offer, and you start to see that in people walking in the doors knowing more about what you do, that's a goal. So just define that carefully before you move on to the next step. So that's more about that. Just, is it to educate clients? Is it to drive purchases, to increase the value of your brand? Kind of what I just said. These are things that a designer, developer keep in mind when choosing or helping you choose a platform that's going to perform best for you. So let's talk a little bit about content. I like to use something I refer to as a content first approach, because the platform, the cost, the design, the development phase, all of that stuff, it all comes from a core understanding of the brand and what the project needs to achieve. That kind of starts with content frequently. Do you have every bit of content written out? marketing, consumer facing content for your products or services, for your homepage, all of that stuff will save you thousands of dollars in development just to have that figured out, because changing it later on is expensive. We're also going to talk about brand. So does your logo and does your colors kind of work with a digital brand, and will they work well for the website? There are some that are a little bit more challenging to do that with, and then there are some that do really well, and I'll just talk about the qualities of those. And then the last bit, we'll talk about functionality of your site and having that sort of mapped out. So let's talk about content first. So whether you're offering a product or a service, I like to start from the smallest piece to the biggest piece is often a good strategy. So if you have if you offer two different services, if you're say you're a tax service, you may offer individual taxes or business taxes. Those are two products, really, is what I'm calling them here. Product level descriptions is what you want to have sort of mapped out, consumer facing language, how you talk about them, have that figured out. The next level up would just be a collection of different products and how you would talk about those. If they're different use cases, sometimes they're presented as like, here's the problem, here are the services that would solve that problem. So you want to have that figured out. And then you have, on top of all of that, you have brand level content. So this is just really high level marketing language that talks about what you can do for people in general. It's your positioning against your competitors. So you want to make sure that if there are other people who do what you do locally or in your industry, then you're speaking in a way that is competitive against them. And it all relates back down to the product level. So for example, I just kind of came up with this funny boom bang soap, not a real thing, but a product page would be describing a specific product. You may even just have one, but it still needs to relate back to the bigger brand. So like lemon pale soap is made with real lemons, blah, 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 about that product, right? A collection page might be a collection of those type of products and you have some kind of descriptor about all of them. And then the high level homepage would just generally talk about, Boom Bang Soap. We create invigorating products that explore all the senses. We do it without leaving a single mark on the planet. Those are high level brand points. So let's talk about brand for a minute also. A big factor is how responsive is your logo. You may have heard that phrase before. I just found a few here that really display the thought that went into these logos. Obviously, these are multi-billion-dollar logos, at least Nike is. But people have put a lot of thought into, designers who have worked on these have put thought into how to compress this brand down into the smallest space available to them, because on a website, you tend to have situations where you have a lot of space to display a brand, and sometimes you have very tiny space. Think of the icon, the fave icon in the little browser tab. That's an opportunity to display your logo, and if it's not readable or recognizable, then that just kind of hurts the whole experience. Not a huge deal, but it's something to keep in mind when you're talking to your designer about the use cases of this, and that if you're going to have a website that's going to use the logo primarily, you want to think about this. And then there's colors. So color, I'm not going to dive into all of color theory because that would be a whole thing, but it is important to have brand colors figured out. And one important thing just for digital experiences is having what we call a conversion color. So when I say conversion color, it's just literally the color that you're going to use for clickable links on your site. So it's sort of a color-based signal to the user that this link somewhere. They'll see things that say buy now or click here or things that are underlined, but color is a primary sort of brand connected way for sites and experiences to to give a signal to people that everything's linked together. So in this case, this made up scenario, I've just got this light blue, light green, teal color that I'm using. Now, I wouldn't overuse one color for your brand because things tend to look pretty bland. Even if let's say you have a brick and mortar business, you have one color, I would challenge you to come up with some supporting colors to help a website design, something that kind of relates back to it. Just put a little thought into the color development of your brand. So, if you have a cool, well, I guess I'd call this a dark purple, maybe a light blue could really help with a conversion color, Something else to keep in mind is red as a conversion color is really challenging because we have these sort of taught behaviors of seeing red as an error message. This has been true so far. It's probably getting a little less true lately in more modern times, but it's still there. And I would just kind of avoid red as a conversion color for that reason, because people tend to just somewhere in the back of their brain, they think this is weird, something's wrong. But there is Target, of course. And if you're thinking, what about Target? They're rich. They've spent a lot of money on figuring out how to make their experience not alarming, like an error. So there's that. If you don't have billions of dollars put into design, I would just stay away from it probably. Some other quick tips on this is because of the origins of the internet and how links started out as blue in color. We've had 30 years of teaching people that blue text is linkable. So I think this is becoming less true also over time. But if you want to easy up here, just an easy go at it. If you want to make your conversion color a blue, then you're already kind of leaning towards the natural inclination of people. Another thing is don't use no color. I know that a lot of brands want to do this, be very minimalist and everything, and it can work, but usually you want something to help people know what's clickable. In the same way, don't use every color. The rainbow is fun to look at, but it kind of is the same as no color. Okay, so let's talk about function. So this is what web developers usually call user stories. It's just all the things that a user or a visitor can do on your site. And people show up at a website with usually something in mind that they want to do, or something that you want them to do. It can be either one. And you want to make a full list of that, just kind of list it out. Everything that should be possible to do. And this is really important for choosing what platform you're going to do, because obviously there are some platforms that are better at these and some that aren't. So this might be a very determining factor in which way you want to go, especially if you're doing e-commerce. Just buying a product is what you want people to do, then that's a quick decision right there. You probably don't want to use WordPress, or you might even not want to use Squarespace. You might want to go Shopify. And we'll talk more about that later. Now, for the sake of design, prioritizing these different actions is really important. For the content of your homepage, let's just say, for the sake of being very succinct with what I'm calling doorways, or just paths that people can take from the first page of your website, making them very clear and intelligible and make it easy for them to make a decision to click into it and convert. So I'd say that I would probably define a primary one and then 3 secondary goals. So for some examples, like a tax accounting business would probably be, maybe your primary one would just be one that is a catch-all bucket of contact us, because that's generally the way that business is. I would assume is most of the time you can't assume exactly what people need. They just need to contact you. And the secondary ones are specific to needs that you can predict, like business tax services or personal tax services. On an e-commerce site, this typically goes through an iteration of new products first, usually promoting like the brand new thing at the top of the page. That's your primary call. Secondary call to action is usually popular collections, things that you can predict that people like over with the data that you have, and maybe sign up for discounts. So just, this isn't true of every brand. These are just examples of how you might set these expectations for a website. So this is a screenshot taken a while back from REI. Just go through as an example. See this, I'm calling this the big door, the hero banner at the top with a call to action that's larger than life here with the conversion color. They use green, this dark green. I'm not sure they still do, but in this design they do. Then they have 3 smaller conversions down here. These are, it looks like they've opted to have their primary gear up for hiking day promotion. And then they have these supporting 3 down here that are just more specific into different types of clothing. So that's what they've decided to do. Those are, but that's the priority in which they chose to display it on their site. So they had to, sort of map that out first. Same with Byte. You've seen this website. I love these people. Very big door at the top that everybody is going to click on probably. But if they keep scrolling down, they're going to be met with a number of different assumptions about what they're looking for. Smaller doors are, different types of products. So just overall advice for everything I've covered so far. That may be a lot to take in, and I understand that it's not something people just naturally know about the first time they embark on making a website or even on a redesign. Sometimes it's hard to keep all these things in mind. But when in doubt, do what I do and just go look at competitors. What are other people doing? Sometimes even outside of competition, like, it could be completely out of your industry. Just if you're trying to solve one little problem that you have, a lot of other industries might have that same problem. So go and look out there and see what other people are doing. Another thing to keep in mind is that a website isn't for you necessarily, it's for your customer. So there's this tendency to really think that everything you're designing, you have to like a lot. It's good if you like it because you're the primary promoter of your brand and you should be that connected to it. But if it happens that you don't represent exactly the people you're serving, you might need to go out there and ask them just what they like. Do a little research and make sure that they like it, the people showing up at your site and the people you're wanting to convert. But as with anything, the journey does not end. So if you may have this one design iteration, one launch of your website, you may even have stopped at the 3rd slide on this presentation and gone right to Squarespace and signed up. That's your first iteration of your site. It will change after that. You will probably pivot how you're positioning your business. The learning will always continue, but that first step is key to getting a lot on the plate and getting something to think about. So don't think this is a one-time project. It's an ongoing journey. So finally, we come to platform. This is probably what everybody wants to know. Sorry for the long intro, but this is what I really recommend to most people looking for a website platform. It kind of depends on what you're after. I'm just going to go through and say, if you're looking for an e-commerce platform and your budget is not zero, you might really look into Shopify. Now there's a lot you can do with Shopify. Just without a developer, just putting one together. I believe the monthly fee is $30 a month. That $30 a month handles a lot of headache stuff and on the e-commerce side. I wouldn't recommend WordPress, or might see some people running WordPress with WooCommerce for e-commerce, and that's sometimes you can run into a lot of problems with that. On Shopify and they handle that stuff really well for you, so definitely worth the money there. If you want to have even more control over your e-commerce experience and you're planning on building something very custom, you might still go with Shopify. You might actually want to look into WordPress with WooCommerce. That's some people build some very custom stuff, but I'm assuming everybody here is just needs to get a site up that, you know, sells something or you know, offers a contact form. So let me back up through this again. If you aren't doing e-commerce, if you're, let's say you have a business that offers services locally, I think that Squarespace is probably a really good bet. They handle a lot of the creation of a website good enough for your first iteration. It's definitely good enough to create a great mobile version, which is important, to make sure that people can access your information easily on their phone these days. That's usually about 90% of traffic these days. So they do a really good job of handling that, and it's not, you don't have to hire a developer and spend a fortune on that. You can just kind of put it together yourself. So let me just go through the cost though. If you do want to do it yourself on these, you can usually on any of these platforms you can either use a free theme and just put your information in there and get it all set up without hiring a developer. It's not that crazy. You will probably have to take some time out to like Google some things and just dive in and make some mistakes and figure it out. But it's not a very steep learning curve at all, I'd say. But you can also buy a $150 or they're more like $300 now. You can it's probably the most expensive one you can get, but there are $100 ones too for Squarespace, for Shopify, for WordPress. People sell these all the time. You can just Google theme forest or something like that. But if you want something more custom to be created for you, let's start with Squarespace. So there's not a whole lot of customization I would recommend you pay for on Squarespace because it is made so in such a way that it allows you to build it yourself. You'd really just be hiring somebody to use the builder and create your site for you. People do charge for that. I'd say it probably starts around $1,000 for somebody to go through there. Although you could probably find somebody, a marketing intern or somebody to do it for you for cheaper than that. The monthly cost of Squarespace is $16 a month. And on Shopify, if you wanted to do a very custom site with a developer, you can do a lot more on Shopify, I'd say, as far as customization and really fine tuning that experience. Those projects usually start around $3,500, but the sky is the limit there because you can do a lot of very custom things with Shopify. So you can kind of put as much money into that as you want to. So I'd be careful of that. The cost for hosting that is $30 a month, as I said earlier. And with WordPress, you can do the same thing. You can probably spend $3,500 or up on a custom experience. Sky is the limit on what kind of complexity you want to put into that. And on the hosting platforms that I like to use, like WP Engine, it's $20 a month. So a big takeaway that I want to make sure everybody has from this is that you don't always need a developer. And I'm guessing that a lot of people watching don't actually need a developer at all. I really encourage you to get out there and just try to make a site yourself with something like Squarespace, because it's never a wasted experience. we always learn something from it. If it has the added effect of developing your brand content for you, or like forcing you to think about how you're selling something, then that's going to be an asset later on whenever you talk to a developer about something custom. So always be willing to dive in there and just mess something up. So in summary, define your goal, create all of your content, create a digital brand that works well on the web, define your key functions, and that's when you can choose your platform or your developer. And that's a wrap.